8:30. Now let's go through the morning's papers, and here to do that with me is the political commentator Alex Petropoulos. Alex, good morning.
Good morning.
Chloe Kelly, off the back of this final in Switzerland, it really struck me when she said after the game that not only is she proud of the achievements of the team, their resilience, proud of her teammates, but she's proud to be English. That's something which, I don't know, for me, hearing that from the mouth of a 27-year-old woman from West London, it seems quite unusual. Englishness has been something, particularly in the context of football historically, that we've found difficult to reconcile sometimes, particularly in certain parts of the country. Do the Lionesses open up a new type of Englishness?
I think they do. I think it's not necessarily a new type of Englishness. It's an old one that we might have forgotten. It's this idea of success, of national pride, this idea that we can do better, we can have progress, we can move towards things and achievements that are step improvements on what already exists. And I think England and English culture has a long and proud history of doing this, and we've kind of forgotten this. And I think it's very natural if you have decades and decades of not seeing this story. It's very natural to have a pushback against what that culture might be and have a pushback against being proud over that, because maybe there isn't much to be proud of. I think stories like this, I think we need more of them, are little sparks of fire that can maybe reignite what that culture should be.
Are you proud to be English, Alex? Would you say that sort of openly if someone asked you?
I'd probably hedge it. I'd give a similar answer to one I gave. I'm proud of what I'd want English to be, right? I'm definitely not proud of many things that happen today, and I'm very disappointed with many of the ways that maybe English is framed. But in sort of the vision of in the most optimistic vision of what English can be, in its best version, I'd be 100% proud to be that.
It's so interesting because I think we're a similar age, and I also think I would hedge it traditionally if you'd asked me that, but yet it's impossible not to be proud of England in this context, certainly of those women, and maybe it does open something else up. Talking of our sense of culture and identity, I want to touch on something that's in the Times. Edinburgh University, it's a review that they've done into their history and their heritage, and they've issued an apology. They say that Edinburgh has been a haven of white supremacism and profiting from slavery, and it says it played an outsized role in creating racist theories that still persist today. Is it right for Edinburgh to apologise?
Look, and at the end of the day, an apology costs nothing, right? And so I have a great deal of sympathy with people who feel strongly about this and who see the need to cause justice, especially historical justice, and point out, a role that an institution might have played in the past. And so there's a great deal of rightness in apologizing and calling that out. After that apology is done, I don't think that there's that much more to be done. I think that focusing on issues that are present today and now for people seems to be more important. And so, that there's an amount you can do. You can acknowledge the past, you can apologize for it. But then after that's happened, I would like to see a prioritization of things that matter for people today. Real crunchy problems that people can see.
And do you think we're comfortable with our history as a country? I always find this such an interesting question whenever this comes up, whenever, say, in 2020 with Black Lives Matter, with Edward Colston's statue being thrown into the river in Bristol. And then you have people like Chloe Kelly talking about Englishness. Are we comfortable with perhaps the less positive sides of English history in the way that, say, Germany has come to terms with its past, or it's gone through a process of it? I'm sure it's an ongoing process, but it feels like we either kick back against apologising really sharply, or we feel the need to go into incredibly deep apologies and feel a great sense of shame. How do we marry those two and move forward in a way that builds on a sense of Britishness or a sense of Englishness, depending on your identity, or indeed a sense of Scottishness, in a way that you can be proud of what you were doing in the way that you said earlier? You're proud of what you want Englishness to be.
Yeah, I think the word shame was a choice one to bring out there. I think that even for the German example, there is this sense of shame. And, there were tons of horrible things that this country and Scotland and together in concert they ended up doing. But there was also a lot of good that they brought towards the world. And, it was England in its position, or Britain in its position as a global superpower, that actually brought the end to the global slave trade, right? And so, yes, we played a role in facilitating it, but we also played a role in ending it. And we played this role in making people's lives better. And that's the story that I think I want us to tell, because it's the story I want us to focus on achieving again, right? We created institutions, we created structures, we brought value and prosperity and progress and growth, and we made lives better for people around the world, and we also made lives worse, and we exploited. And that it happened in part. But the big story, the story that actually made an impact over generations, were stories like the Industrial Revolution, were stories like the inventions and the creations we brought to the world that are still living with us today. And while the negative impacts of our actions live with us, the positive impacts of our actions have far outweighed those over time, right? We're feeling the positive effects of British legacy far more today than we're feeling the negative ones. And so I want to create a story where we can continue to create those positive legacies that will continue to build on themselves and have that impact over, the next 10, 20, even more years.
Do get in touch with your thoughts. Are you proud to be English if you are English? Are you proud to be British? If you're not English, if you're Scottish, if you're Welsh, if you're Northern Irish, what's your relationship with Englishness? Do you find it frustrating? Do you find it excluding? Are you proud to be a part of it? Are you put out by it? Let us know what you think. And obviously we're looking at it in terms of Englishness because of the Lionesses last night, but more broadly, are you comfortable with our history as a country? Alex, let's just touch on a couple of other stories while we've got you. Doctor strike, we're on day 4. The Conservatives now suggesting that Kemi Badenoch, the leader, saying that she would extend a ban on striking to doctors. Should doctors be allowed to strike, in your view?
Look, I think they should be allowed to strike. I think you have to take a reflection on the protections that they're given when they're striking and ask questions of, are those protections excessive? Are things proportional, right? And when you're in a position where you have one group of people who are essentially saying, hey, look, I'd like to take from everyone else and give to my one smaller group, I think you have to be really careful about the affordances and protections you give. I'd much be happier if we could raise the bar for everyone, if we could make it such that everyone's becoming better off and we don't need to have small individual interest groups lobbying, striking, pressuring for their own betterment at the expense of everyone else. In practice, what does that mean? Some amount of striking, but probably some affordances taken away, some compromised middle ground, sensible middle ground being found.
And just finally, Alex, we've had some polling in the Sunday Times yesterday, but we're sort of picking through the details of it in today's paper. Young voters are far more positive about Jeremy Corbyn than Keir Starmer. This, of course, after Labour announcing for sure they are going to lower the voting age to 16. Is it going to come back to bite this Labour government?
I think a lot of what the current Labour government will come back to bite them. I talk to many of my friends, myself included, and they're sort of losing confidence. Many who voted for Labour, like myself, who are losing confidence in their actions, who aren't happy with the decisions that are being made. And, will it be Jeremy Corbyn's party? Will it be Reform? I think at the limit, both of those parties are a bit unserious and don't really have a plan. But it also won't necessarily be the Conservatives and it won't necessarily be Labour. I think both of those parties have had their run at the money and have proven to themselves and let down a generation of voters. And in the actions that they're taking, I'd love to see them to change path, and there might be a road for them to change what they're doing and to recover these lost voters. But I don't really see a path at this point.
And it'll be interesting to see over the next 4 years whether Reform and this new party with Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana can flesh out their platform, how that affects their vote share and how it affects their polling. Alex Petropoulos, thank you so much for joining us this morning. That's a political commentator from Young Voices UK.